Hey friends, welcome back onto my channel. My name is Lupe and I'm very happy for you to have joined me tonight. Tonight's topic has to do with perception and how you can shift your words and change your life. What I mean by that is sometimes we happen to use very disempowering words without acknowledging the fact that we're doing it. Sometimes it's so automatic to say things like, oh man, this is so hard. Like, my life is so hard. My job is so hard. Oh, I just can't. And what I encourage you to do, what you can try is to switch out things like hard with challenging. So this really helped me in my life, and that's why I'm sharing with you. So instead, I started using challenging. So I started saying, wow, this is really challenging. Like, my job is really challenging. My situation right now is so challenging, but I'm going to figure it out, or I'm going to try to figure it out at least. So when you do shift your using disempowering words like hard and this is hard to something a little more empowering, like this is challenging, but I'm going to figure it out, it actually gives you a little boost of confidence. It gets so much stress off of your shoulders, and it actually really helps you start finding solutions versus focusing on the problem. So there's a very famous quote by Albert Einstein, which was a very famous physicist that actually passed away in 1955. So some of you may not have heard of it, but I'll go ahead and share it. And the quote goes like this: the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe. Yes, that has to do with perception and attitude towards life and situations and ourselves. So, what that says to me, what speaks to me from that, is that perception is a belief. It is something very limited to an individual. Perception is not a basis for reality for everybody. So your perception is different from my perception, and from your mother and your brother and everybody else. Like, there's no way that we can all have the same attitude, even when we're raised together or we all grow up in similar groups and families. Like, we all still grow up with very individual situations that we learn from. And we all learn in very different ways. So that's also why perception is like not unified at all whatsoever. There's another quote I want to share from Henry Ford, and you may have heard of it, especially if you're into personal development. If you haven't, that's okay. You can Google it. So that goes like this: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's again by Henry Ford. So that again has to do with your attention to something more empowering or your attention to something more disempowering. So if you believe that you can, you're so very likely to find solutions to any kind of resistance or challenge. But when you believe that you cannot, you like absolutely cannot, I can't do this, I can't do this because it's hard, then it's going to be really hard for you to find solutions and to believe in yourself. And one thing is that when you don't believe in yourself, you're like so likely to make more mistakes. You're so likely to like fail or feel like a failure. But when you believe that you can, even when you fail, you understand that you're failing forward and you're learning, and it's for a really good experience, you know? So perception has to do with your attitude towards, first of all, yourself, um, the situations you're in, and towards others. So one major thing that um, I know about, and I kind of went over in my last video, that has to do with automatic negative thoughts. Sometimes we don't even know that we're using these words, or that we have these thoughts or beliefs about ourselves or some other situation. And a lot of times people call them, like Jim Quick calls them, automatic negative thoughts. The acronym is ANTS. So he'll say to kill your ants. So one way to kill your ants this way is by swapping out either phrases or words. So like I said, you can swap out hard for challenging, and you can also say I can figure this out instead of I don't know or I can't. And also something very funny, when I don't know if ever when you were a kid, or if you are a parent now and you send your kids to the pantry to go look for the salt, the pepper, or to the fridge to look for the Parmesan cheese or something. And then they, or you as a child, as a kid, did you ever say, I don't know where it is, or I don't see it? But you weren't even near the pantry, you know? Or you can see your kids like nowhere near it, and they're just like, I can't see it, I don't see it. So when you train your mind to not be able to see certain things, that's actually what lens you're seeing through. And oftentimes, a lens that you see through, that is your perspective, your perception. So the perception that we wear is the lens that we see through, and that is actually how our life unfolds. So when we switch out disempowering words for more empowering words, that's also how our life shifts, and how our life can potentially change by choosing better vocabulary, better phrases. And one thing like that is so disempowering that we don't even notice that we do is when we talk about money, for instance, is when we start to say, oh, I can't afford that, I can't afford that, but you know you have the money for it. Instead of saying things like, I can't afford that, you can say, that's not a priority for me right now, so no thanks. You know, so instead of saying things like, I can't afford that, because then your mind gets used to believing that you cannot afford that, in fact, instead say things like, oh, that's not a priority, or I don't need that right now. Oh, I prefer not to. And so another one I would love to share is I should. Oh my God. So I should is like so disempowering, because you could say, I should have, I would have, if I would have, I could have, I should have, you know? And so that's very disempowering, because you're actually not taking responsibility for your own actions. So you're actually teaching yourself, or you're learning to not trust yourself. And that is in itself is so disempowering. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't trust yourself, and then you'll feel like your personal worth actually goes down. And we don't want to go down that route. It's you know, certain things that we go through in life already, or people that we deal with in a daily basis, or that we interact with. We don't deal with people, we interact with people. There's another one. So people that we interact with might already, you know, be in their feelings or in a more negative mental state than us, and that's their perception. It's not your reality, and it doesn't need to be. So if you can slowly disassociate from people like that, that's okay too. That has to do with self-care. So self-care is all about another video. So I won't get into that, but perspective, perception, and shifting your words so you can find the solution. So life does shift for you and it works in your favor. So give it a try. I hope this helped. I'm wrapping it up. I hope you have a great night. I always aim to add value to other people's lives. So if you like this video, press like, subscribe, and share it with somebody. I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you'd like to drop a comment, go right ahead and do that. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate all your support, and have a great night. Bye-bye.